I was talking to a really close friend of mine at church last Sunday, and she said something that really hit me. She said, "Stop learning how to do it and just do it already." So I'm done researching and planning how to start a YouTube channel, and this is me starting. So in this video, I'm going to share 4 reasons why I decided to leave my public school teaching job and take a hard look at the systemic failures in our education system. But this isn't just about my journey, so I'm also going to share how this decision will help parents like you who want to ensure that your kids don't fall through the cracks. So let's dive in. First, let me say this. The public school system is a complete mess, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The lack of resources, administrative pressures, and the emotional toll that it takes on teachers is overwhelming. I mean, I've had colleagues come to my classroom and break down in tears, completely drained because they felt unsupported. We had a first-year pre-K teacher. Her assistant quit 1 week into the school year, and she had no consistent help or no modeling, and was basically left to her own devices with 15 4-year-olds. Some days the admin sent in the in-school suspension monitor to help her, and he was huge, like Arnold Schwarzenegger from Kindergarten Cop, but he was not trained to work with toddlers. On my planning periods, I went down the hall to check on her and help her out because she was barely holding on. And this is not uncommon. I mean, between the laundry list of responsibilities, piles of paperwork, and having to fight for the most basic supplies, teachers are on the struggle bus. And all the while, we're supposed to be inspiring and educating the next generation. Newsflash, the system is broken, y'all. And the real problem isn't even money. It's about the value that society places on education. When you consistently underfund and undervalue something as vital as education, you get the results that we're seeing today. It's the way that we approach education in this country. It's outdated, and we're not teaching the skills needed for 21st century jobs. This is not a quick fix, y'all, because the entire model needs to change. So a little bit about me. I'm Gabrielle Bryant, a dedicated teacher who made the incredibly difficult decision to leave public school after more than 2 decades in the trenches in underserved schools. I spent more than 23 years teaching in elementary and middle schools, coaching other teachers in elementary, middle, and high schools, and teaching middle grades at a private Catholic school, which I actually really did enjoy, even though I'm not Catholic. But I've seen it all, from the joy of watching students finally understand a tough concept to the frustration of dealing with roadblocks from district officials that stifle creativity and innovation. But after years of giving everything to this profession, it became painfully clear that it's not the students. It's the system itself. It's the biggest obstacle to educating kids. And now that I'm out, I can cut through the fluff, tell the truth, and let the chips fall where they may. So reason number 1, I quit teaching in public school. The public school system is drastically underfunded. I mean, the lack of resources directly impacts the quality of education that our kids receive. Schools in low-income neighborhoods are particularly affected by outdated materials, irrelevant curricula, and crumbling buildings. Although the custodians are actually the hardest working people on the staff because they are literally holding the building together. Students in low-income schools are set up for failure from the very beginning. Teachers are expected to do miracles with less, which leads to burnout and high turnover. To make up for the shortfall, a lot of us are dipping into our own pockets for supplies. I don't want to tell you how much money I spent over the years, but all I can say is that my husband shook his head at me while I constantly shopped on Amazon, Scholastic, discount supply houses, and educational companies looking for supplies, resources, and whole class sets that the school should have been providing. But I made sure that every one of my students had what they needed. It was exhausting. It was unsustainable, and it was completely unfair to both me and my students. The school's media specialist, who I just love, even had to help me wheel and deal with the school district to pay for an accelerated reader program, which they insisted they could not afford to provide for the whole school. So we went back and forth with them, until they agreed to pay for only first and second grade and all of the special needs students. But doesn't the whole school need to know how to read? Okay. Reason number 2, I quit teaching in public school. Overcrowding. Some of those classrooms are packed to the brim, making it nearly impossible for teachers to give every student individualized attention. And let's not even talk about the lack of proper support for kids with special needs. The special education teacher workload is ridiculous. I mean, these students have accommodations, IEPs, 504s. These may require specialized attention, and they're put into classrooms that are at capacity with only a part-time aide, making it impossible to fully handle their needs. I mean, the second grade teacher that was across the hall from me had the inclusion class with a mix of regular education and special needs students. She shared her part-time special education teacher with a 4th grade inclusion class on the other side of the building. So the special education teacher spent only half a day with each class. So during the other half, individualized attention significantly decreased. It's not only unfair to the students, but it's incredibly stressful for the teachers who are already juggling a million other responsibilities, including discipline issues. Reason number 3, I quit teaching in public school. The overemphasis on standardized testing. This obsession creates a culture of teaching to the test rather than providing a well-rounded education. Schools are so focused on meeting random benchmarks that we are churning out underachieving test takers instead of critical thinkers. For a lot of students, the curriculum isn't even relevant to their lives, and the system's focus on test scores over real learning only makes them more disengaged. They know we're not preparing them for the real world. They're not fooled, and they check out. The truth is, our education system is designed to produce mediocre results, not to inspire or empower students to reach their full potential. I mean, my district is spitting out proficiency levels on average around 30% across the board in all subject areas. That means 70% of our kids are not making the cut, yet they congratulating themselves like they're really doing something. Why are we patting ourselves on the back? And why is the superintendent getting a raise when kids can't read or write? I'm sorry, I digress. But maybe that's why the new administration wants to get rid of the Department of Education. And what would that look like for schools? That's a video for another day. Reason number 4, I quit teaching in public school. Teachers have little to no autonomy. I mean, we're given rigid cookie cutter lesson plan templates to fill out and scripted academic programs or curriculum that don't consider individual students' needs or their learning styles. And what you end up with is a lack of motivation and enthusiasm from both the students and the teachers. I mean, this is a one-size-fits-all approach, and it doesn't work. It just frustrates teachers, disengages the students, and stifles creativity in the classroom. And on top of that, we're constantly being evaluated with measurements that don't reflect our actual impact on student performance. The pressure creates a toxic work environment, and teachers end up feeling micromanaged, and then they're afraid to be themselves or try anything new. I mean, public schools used to be places where teachers were respected and the students loved coming to learn. But sadly, today's schools are run by people who are out of touch because they either stopped teaching in the classroom years ago or they never even set foot in a classroom to teach. Students and parents are disillusioned, the teachers are disgruntled, and the district is using smoke and mirrors to pretend that they're focused on growth and learning, and they're really just sending mixed messages about how well the students are actually performing. What we really have is a system that's focused on justifying a top-heavy leadership model while they're hiding the sad truth of our state standardized test results. And then they have the nerve to lay the accountability squarely at the feet of the teachers for all the poor test scores. The system is not designed to support students or teachers. It's designed to protect itself and survive, no matter the cost. I mean, I'll be honest. There were lots of times in my career when I just closed my door and taught the way I knew my kids needed me to teach. I mean, I never broke the rules, but I just tried to shut the district out give my students some unique learning experiences, and have a come to Jesus meeting with them when they needed it. But early last year, everything changed. I was sitting in a grade level meeting with administrators. They were rolling out yet another idiotic initiative to make it look like we were educating some kids. And before I knew it, I blurted out, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that because it's not in the best interest of my kids, and I'm not doing it just to check a box. That moment was a turning point for me because the rebel inside that I usually kept under wraps busted out, and that's when I knew it was time to go. The rest of the school year, I found myself being more and more rebellious in the name of what was best for my students, not caring whether or not I upset the apple cart. It became somewhat of a joke for my administrators to poke fun at me in the meetings about the fact that I kept saying, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. But I was tired of trying to work around all the roadblocks they constantly threw in my path. And I couldn't keep sacrificing my time, my well-being, my relationships, all for a system that wasn't helping students or teachers succeed anyway. The decision to quit teaching in public school was one of the hardest I've ever made. It was scary. And to be honest, I still don't know what's going to happen. But I was constantly stressed, anxious, and exhausted. And I felt like I wasn't getting enough done anyway. I knew that machine was going to roll on with or without me. And since I couldn't fix the system and I couldn't really help parents and students the way I wanted to while working within the system, I chose to work outside of the system to really affect change. And that's why I'm sharing my story. I mean, it's not easy to talk about, but it needed to be said. I wanted the freedom to create something better, something that's truly supporting students and parents in the ways that the traditional system doesn't. I mean, I thought moving to a charter school might be the answer. And it is a different system, slightly different, but it's a system nonetheless with its own set of handcuffs. But that's a topic for another video. The failures of the public school system may have led me to leave, but I haven't stopped teaching. We need to get back to valuing our students, valuing teachers, and giving them the autonomy to design their own lessons to encourage creativity and critical thinking. That's a big undertaking that won't happen overnight. So in the meantime, here's where you benefit. I'm starting this channel to share everything that I've learned over the last 2 decades with parents like you who are ready to take charge of their kids' education. Look, the public school system is broken. I mean, that's obvious, but we can't wait around for it to be fixed. We've been waiting this long and it still isn't fixed. We have to focus on what and how our kids learn so that we can nurture curious problem solvers instead of just churning out test takers. If you can relate to anything that I've shared, whether you're a teacher, parent, or student, or one of my old students, drop your story in the comments. Let's start a conversation, a real conversation about how we can create meaningful change, whether that means fixing the system or building something entirely new. And if you're ready to dive deeper into these discussions, hit the subscribe button below because I'm going to be sharing more about educational reform, practical strategies, and ways to ensure that your child succeeds in spite of the system. Because every child deserves to love reading and writing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.